Hi, my name is Sophie Herrington. I work for a wonderful nonprofit called AmazeWorks that brings belonging to life. One of the ways we do that is by using storytelling and picture books to spark meaningful conversations with kids about our identities and differences. Right now, I'm holding a very powerful picture book called Returning the Sword: How a Japanese Sword of War Became a Symbol of Friendship and Peace. This book was written by Caren Stelson and illustrated by Amanda Yoshida. It's about Captain Orval Amdahl, who returned a Japanese sword to its original family, the Motomura family, 68 years after he brought it home in the aftermath of World War II. What makes today especially unique is that although Caren and Amanda poured so many hours into creating this book together, they have never actually met. And that may sound surprising, but it's actually common in the world of picture books. The author first writes the manuscript, and then an illustrator is carefully matched to bring the words to life. Today, we get to witness something rare and meaningful, the moment where the author and illustrator of Returning the Sword meet for the very first time. They're both in the Zoom waiting room right now, and I'll invite them to join us. So, with that, let's welcome Caren and Amanda.
Wonderful to meet you, Amanda.
You as well. It's so nice to meet you at last.
Absolutely. And thank you for illustrating Returning the Sword.
Thank you for writing such a beautiful book. It was a joy to work on it.
This is going to be fun.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi, nice to meet
Hello,
you,
Sophie.
Amanda.
Hi. And Sophie,
I'm,
thank you so much for doing this for us.
Yeah.
We so appreciate it.
yes, of course. I'm so honored to be here to witness this special moment.
It's so exciting to meet your collaborator who you haven't met before.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this was such a collaborative project for sure. So it's
Yeah.
interesting in the times we live in that we actually don't interact the whole period because it's all digital these days.
Yes.
You both shared questions with me to ask each other for your first meeting. So I explained about the process of the manuscript comes first and then an illustrator's match. So, Amanda, what was your first reaction when you got to read the manuscript for Returning the Sword?
Oh my goodness, I was over the moon. I was a little worried that somehow it wasn't going to work out with my schedule or something because I was so excited about the project. It made me bawl. It was very moving for me, particularly as a Japanese American. Yeah, and my son is 9, but he found out about World War II on his own when he was, I think, 6. So he's been obsessed with all things World War II related since then. And he introduced me to this genre prior to getting this offer of World War II nonfiction picture books that are so moving and healing. So I was really hoping that someone would offer me one of them to work on. So I was very, very happy for the opportunity.
And speaking of World War II, Caren, all of your picture books depict families grappling with the impact of World War II from completely different sides of the world. So, what is it about World War II stories that has captured your interest?
It really started with my dad, who was in the infantry in World War II, and it was at his funeral. And my dad had full military honors at Arlington Cemetery. And I sat there, not only in my grief, but thinking, what happened? What happened to my dad that the military is giving him all these military honors? And it got me thinking about what I didn't understand, how that war impacted not only my family, but myself as the next generation, how that impacted the world. And I started doing some research about my dad and his World War II experience, as thinking about that's what I would be writing about. And then I ended up going to England for a year and interviewed people who were kids during World War II and what that experience was like. And the more I interviewed people and the more I read and researched, I thought about that big question after war, who gets to peace and who doesn't and why? And then when I met Sachiko Yusui who was from Nagasaki, who was just a little girl facing nuclear war, surviving nuclear war, I thought this really is a story I wanted to write. And in the middle of that process, Orval Amdahl and his sword appeared.
Wow.
So, so it's
That's
been a long, long journey, but one that's really changed my life and really made me think hard about war and the importance and the preciousness of peace.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Orval Amdahl was a product of research for your other books. And so another question that Amanda had for you was, what surprising discoveries did you uncover in your research for Returning the Sword?
You know, I was thinking about that, and all the other books I have done have really required a lot of research, like really doing the reading, doing the studying, doing the interviewing, going places to really get a sense of that story. And this story is really a lived experience for me. I mean, being involved in that whole helping Orville return that sword to the Motomuras, who were the um, the original family who owned that sword. I My research was living those moments. I think the biggest surprise was really finding out more about that sword and how important swords are in the Japanese culture, not only as a weapon, but the way it is made, the spiritual aspect of it, the cultural aspect of the way those swords, the samurai swords are made. I really became so much more aware of the importance of returning that sword and what it might mean to that family in Nagasaki. We also had sword surgery. Amanda, you don't know about this sword, but we had to find out more about that sword to see if it was really, was it an heirloom or was it, how old was this sword and what impact that would make on the story? And we actually reached out to Japanese sword specialist, and he was able to pull it apart. And on the blade, in Japanese, was written when that sword was made. It was not an heirloom. It was December 1941, Pearl Harbor. So, and it was at that point that we realized that this was not just, not only a precious, item of value for this family, but this really meant war and peace. This is what we really were coming together for. And that made the whole story even more meaningful.
Caren, you did some sword surgery for research of this book. Amanda, what kind of research did you do as you were preparing for the illustrations?
Oh my gosh, what did I not research? I didn't start drawing for at least 2 months on this
Mm.
project. I was just doing research. Yeah, as I said, this is the first nonfiction history picture book I've worked on, and so I think it was important to me and everyone on the team to be as accurate as we could. So it was everything from 1940s hairstyles in the US versus Japan to what kind of Jeep he would have been in Nagasaki on I think the second page, or what kind of ship he would have been brought in on. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that no one's gonna notice. But it was really important to me to try to be accurate about it. And there's a lot of images in there too that I tried to incorporate from real photographs that were taken during or right after the bombs were dropped in Nagasaki. So a lot of research.
Yeah, well, I spent 6 years researching Sachiko's story for for her narrative nonfiction, and there is so much to learn to be
Mhm.
able to begin, right, and face the page. So I appreciate all that research that you had to do.
Thank you. There were a lot of days where I was researching and just crying. Heavy topic when you're having to see the damage that was done to people's lives in the country. But
Yeah.
very good for me because I think Um, I've turned away quite a bit from that as a Japanese American born in the 80s. I think we're brave. People are braver now than they were when I was younger, about facing this kind of hard, painful history in our country and in Japan.
Amanda, what visuals did you bring to the illustrations to help bridge Japanese and American culture?
I used color quite a bit. So if you see in the book, there's a lot of orange and blue together, that's supposed to represent Nagasaki and Japan, particularly during the wartime, whether it's flashbacks or memories. So sometimes it's hidden in the background where you'll see like an orange cloud or something. But if you look carefully, it's not a cloud. It's the atomic bomb. So it's kind of woven throughout the book that it stays with him. And then I used the Japanese cherry blossom, the sakura, to represent the healing from Japan. And I used a tree native to Minnesota called the white ash tree. And those are, whether it's artwork in the background or it's coming up sort of surrealistically behind on the final scene, but they're slowly working their way to each other until the final scene. So yeah,
And that is beautiful.
thank you.
I noticed all that. So, yes. So, and I think that it was so important to weave those two cultures together because that is so much a part of the theme of the book as
Yes.
well. And the more we can embrace the themes and do it in words and images, the more we can really reach our audience, young and old, and help them understand what this story really is about.
Yeah. And I love in the writing how I reread the book last night and I cried again. But the way that Caren captures Orville as it leads to the end of him returning the sword, of him trying to cross the bridge and learn the culture and try to learn some Japanese and the bow, and it's just so sweet how it's written, how important it is for him to try to bridge that gap.
And that is what truly happened. I
Mm.
mean, I I was really trying to think about how I was going to enter that story because I was in that story.
Yes, Caren, I'm glad you mentioned that because you do actually physically appear in this book. So, Amanda had an incredible question for you. What was it like to see yourself physically represented in the book through an illustration?
That is a great question. You know, and Amanda, you must feel this way too when you're writing or when you're illustrating that you are in that story, however you are entering the page. But this was different. Like when I saw my your illustration, I thought, thank you for making me so much younger. But I also felt that that moment where the researcher, just who was me, is at the door and Orville's opening up the door. Amanda, you captured that moment of, you're anticipating how things may go. And this was going to be another interview I was going to do. I had no idea what lay ahead. So there is that crossing over a threshold, thinking that it's going to go in one direction, and it goes an entirely different direction that brings you into another story, and you feel the weight of that story. When Orville shows me that sword, there is that moment when you know that you are stepping into a really important story, and you have to say yes. You just have to say yes. And when you have that hunch that it's going to be something, it's going to lead somewhere really important for a message for all of us, you're so glad you say yes. So I think you captured that. And you certainly helped me think back to that moment.
Wonderful.
So, Amanda, now that Returning the Sword is published, what themes of the story stick with you the most?
I would say that there's no time limit on forgiveness or righting a wrong or redemption, that it's never too late. Um, and that there's such incredible healing that can come from that. And yeah, I think that applies to everything in life. And I think it's a really important time for us to be reminding people of how important it is to bridge the distance between other people and forgive ourselves and others.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I think Orval taught me, and also Sachiko and others, as I've done my research in World War II, I think that when you can heal yourself, you can help heal the world. And if you can help heal the world, you can help heal yourself. I think so much of that was about Orville's story and about, as you said, forgiveness, about peace, reconciliation, and reaching across all the boundaries to friendship. This is, I just want to say, Amanda, so great to meet you. So great to hear how this story touched you. And that's what we hope, right? That we tell a story and the power of story lingers in our hearts and shapes what we do next as individuals. We hope that as we both go out into the world to share this story, that the ripple effect will be there for others.
Absolutely. And I just want to say thank you so much for writing such a beautiful story. It has been such an honor to bring the visual element to it.
And I know as we speak, the Motomuras and Fumiko Yamaguchi, who was so much part of this story too, my friend, will be receiving this book soon. So I've got a good friend who's taking numerous copies back to Nagasaki.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
it needs not only to go to Lanesboro, but it needs to go to Nagasaki and to thank the Motomura family for really taking the brave step too, to come to the United States, to thank Orville for taking care of this sword for so long and appreciating all that that sword meant to that family.
Well,
So
thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this with both of you. It was so special to witness your meeting for the very first time and just all of the excitement and passion that you bring to this project, even without getting to collaborate directly with each other, is so special. And I'm very excited for everyone else to get to experience this book. It's just so powerful, the story that you created together.
thank you. Sophie, thank you so much for taking time to bringing us together. And we couldn't have done it without you.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thank
Caren.
you.